Clutch. Happy Thursday, man. How are you? You said I'm good, and then you said I'm fine. I'm always intrigued by that when people say good, because are you saying that because you are good, or are you saying that because that's what people say these days? And then why did you adapt?
It's a great question. I always say I'm great. So I'm surprised I said good because everything is going great in my life right now. I was just more concerned about the lighting, to be honest, here and making sure the lighting was good and you have everything you need. But outside of that, myself, I'm good.
Nice. I'm hyper aware of language, and I've gotten to a point now where I'm totally okay with calling my clients out on it. And I'll even stop them in the middle of a leadership meeting, and I'll say, yeah, I just got to check you on your language there. And I guess, well, this will all be part of the podcast. So we are recording. Welcome, Kris March, and I'll do a proper introduction here in a moment. But I was actually with a potential client, like literally first time meeting this client, sitting down at one of those big fancy tables and fancy chairs and nice water. And the vice president was speaking, and she said something, and I'm not sure if they listen to the podcast, so I won't go too in detail. But I've only known these people for 45 minutes. And after she says it, I have to check her on her language. And I just tell her, I say, if we are going to work together as a team, just so you know, this is something that I hold at really high value, is the words that we speak. The words that we speak become our reality. And that was almost like me testing them to see if they're like, okay, this guy's just like out to lunch, or they were on board. And they were all on board. And she appreciated me calling her on it. So I guess that segues me into my very first question for you, Kris March, and welcome to the podcast. Thank you for your time today, sir. How do you navigate that when you're sitting down with your clients and you feel compelled to call them on something? Is that something that you do easily, or do you tread that line carefully?
It's a great question, and it is timely for me, as I'm not sure if you saw, no, you did actually see that I just recently completed an NLP course, and I'm a practitioner now. And it was all about how we communicate and the language that we use as well. So as a coach myself, it was really fascinating to understand and kind of peel back the layers on that and the different tools that you can have in your toolkit, from a personal relationship, the relationship I have with my family, my friends, whoever it may be. I think it was really, really helpful, and it can help me from a coaching perspective as well. And to answer your question, I really listen. As you know, a great coach is a great listener. So I really listen to the words throughout a coaching session to really kind of pinpoint exactly why they say those words. And if I hear the same word come up time and time again, I'll be saying, all right, that's the third time you've used focus or drive or a certain word. I'm like, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that specific word. I think that's what really makes a great coach, is being really, really curious. You may remember, and I know you have kids yourself. I was going to use the example as your kid when you're just asking the wildest question: why does an octopus have 8 arms? All these childlike curiosity questions you have. And I think as a coach, that's important for you to have.
Yeah, it is. And I really do. I consider myself to be world-class at asking questions. And I think that skill, or to use what you just said, that tool and from the toolkit, is one of the attributes that allows me to be successful as a coach. But as I've informally and now more formally been coaching others, I understand it's so much less about me and it's more about them. And it's less about why I am great. It's more about they're the hero. And I'm like, I use this analogy quite often, especially when it comes from a marketing standpoint as well, but also practically in the work that I do. Is like, I'm the Yoda to their Skywalker. They're the heroes. Like, I'm just there to help and guide. And it's almost like using your child example, like with my kids, and I'm sure this resonates with you or did at some point. It's like when we had our daughter in gymnastics and she was on the balance beam. It wasn't my job to get her from one side to the other, but it was my job to make sure if she did fall, that she didn't fall too dangerously. but she was
Mm-hmm.
going to at some point. I was there to make sure it wasn't too bad. So I'm just there almost as a guide, as opposed to like telling her exactly what to do or telling my clients exactly what to do. And I think that's what comes from the question asking is you ask the question, and this is the challenging part for me, and then you shut up because I love the sound of my own voice so much. But but yeah, I think the question asking piece is so it's so crucial in being a coach in any aspect, whether it's in athletics or professional or whether you're a relationship coach. If you don't have that ability to ask the questions at the right time and then truly listen, and I think with the training that you just went through probably allows for you to really see the forest for the trees in the way someone
Mm-hmm.
answers something. Is that true or no?
Yeah, I think it's really helped me harness the skills that I've already had through coaching. I've been through a couple of different coaching schools as well. So I firstly did the Jay Shetty, which you
Mhm.
may be familiar with as
Yeah.
well for the
Mhm.
listeners out there. He's a Tony Robbins type of level in the UK and Europe and throughout the world as well. I did a life and success coaching through them in 2021, and in 2022 I did executive coaching through the Center for Executive Coaching, which is one of the top renowned executive coaching schools globally as well. So I'm really at that stage where I'm a lifelong learner and I like to grow and develop myself and my skills. So
Mhm.
the NLP was just something that I really was just curious about, and I'm really glad that I did that course. And I'm looking to do the master practitioner course later this year as well.
Amazing, good for you. I love a coach that is actually investing in him or herself. I feel like if you're not doing that, you're kind of being a bit of a hypocrite. Like how are we going to ask someone to invest in us if
Mm-hmm.
we're not even investing in ourselves? So I appreciate that you're doing that, and it's there's so much information out there, especially now. I don't think anyone at any age can actually say they're bored. And especially in our field, there's some great thought leaders that are putting together some great programs. So shame on us if we don't leverage it. But before we get too far down this path, I feel like the plane's already in the air, and I'm okay with that. But I personally and selfishly want to better understand your story, and I want to essentially lay out the red carpet for you as well, so you can help my listeners understand what it is that you do and why you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, take us back to, obviously, I'm assuming it's pre 2021 before you took that Jay Shetty course, but bring us back to how we actually ended up here today. Why is Kris March? And I'll just use this title for you. Why are you a world-class coach?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again for the opportunity to be here. Uh, I'm grateful for that. Look, I grew up in Australia, as everyone can probably tell. I've been in Canada now. I'm a proud Australian Canadian. I grew up in Australia, sport obsessed, wanted to be a professional basketball player, played at a high level in Australia, finished up school, and hadn't really traveled once I finished up school. The basketball dream, unfortunately, didn't happen. So as a rite of passage, as most Australians have, we end up living in the UK. Traveled over to the UK, spent 2 years over there traveling throughout with my friends. Really, that's where I got the travel bug, and travel was really inspired within me. Upon returning from the UK to Australia for a short period of time, I started working with Flight Centre, which I'm still working with to this day. And at that point in 2007, and when I returned from Europe, I was like, where can I go to next? And I had some friends that had lived in Vancouver, BC. And of course, I knew about Toronto, but I was like, nah, Toronto's too cold. Let's go to Vancouver. Let's go to Vancouver. And my sister had been living in the UK, and we decided to meet in Vancouver. Lived in Vancouver, continued my career with Flight Centre from 2009. I moved to Vancouver, and then I just continued to work my way up within Flight Centre, and I've held many different senior leadership roles. And in 2017, I was repositioned out here with Flight Centre, and I've been calling Toronto home since 2017. So 6 years. It's wild to think. And then really, what brought on the coaching part and the career in that regard was the pandemic. I think it was a really tough period for all of us globally. Unfortunately, we saw a lot of loss. A lot of people lost their jobs. But I think the silver lining throughout this is it really pushed people to make decisions and to be a little bit more uncomfortable with their decision making, personally and professionally. And for me in 2020, as we well know, the world was grounded. I'm in the travel industry.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't think our company was going to make it. So having a lot of time here in Ontario, as you know, and for our listeners, we spent the better part of 2 years in lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of time to really self-reflect and ask those questions of what did I want my legacy to be when it's all said and done? What do I want to look back on and be proud of? And if money didn't matter to me and I lose my job tomorrow, what do I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked us, family, friends, that knew me well, and everything really came back to enterprise type roles and also helping people. So I thought about counseling, psychotherapy, all these different things. And then a colleague of mine that I previously worked with, Flight Center, she'd previously enrolled in the Jay Shetty course. She'd been following up with me about it. And I decided to take the plunge and enrolled in the course. And at that point, I was just really, really inspired to help people. At the same time, I decided to launch my own coaching business and just started helping people. I just started, coaching family and friends, anyone that would really take the time to listen to, that would be kind enough to share their problems with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've just continually grown the business and grown as a person through that process, and really helped a lot of people throughout it as well. And I'm sure you feel the same. It's just so rewarding to see your clients succeed and help achieve their goals. And your analogy at the start about being the Yoda to the Luke Skywalker, I think that's fantastic. And it's just been a great journey that I'm on. And I'm just really at the start of more greatness ahead when it comes to coaching and being a thought leader when it comes to leadership as well. Because I really feel leadership is a responsibility and something that I've always taken with a huge honor. And it's something I feel passionate about. And being a leadership coach, I want to really help develop those new leaders, those ambitious leaders, and also those executives as well.
Love it. So help me understand, and listeners as well, who is your ideal client? Who are you helping? If someone is listening and they've been entertaining hiring a coach, who is that, that avatar for you, if you will?
Yeah. To be frank, I'm still working on it. I haven't landed on it yet. And I know if you help everyone, you're helping no one at the end of the day. So I'm really in that failing forward stage. I look at all the clients that I've helped so far. I've helped people transitioning careers, people juggling multiple different small businesses. It's been a multitude of different clients as well. And I think when you look at coaching, I'm sure you have this as well. Personal, professional, family, everything, it kind of blends into one. So right now, I haven't really narrowed it down specifically for an avatar. I think that's really where the scalability will come from my business as well. Right now, coaching is a side hustle and something that I'm passionate about. I do it on weekends. I do it in the evenings as well. But as I said, everyone that I've worked with so far has been happy with the results. So that gives me great pleasure and knows that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you come up against any situations where you haven't been able to help, or you've had to say, hey, this is beyond my scope?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. I'm sure that time will come.
Yeah.
But not yet.
I just find that such an interesting practice as well, because for me, it's a really good exercise in being humble. And I think you said it's such a great line, and it's a bit cliche, but it is for a reason, because it is so accurate. And if you help everyone, you help no one. So not only being really a little more clear on who it is that we help, but also really being clear on understanding what it is that we do. And what I mean by that, what comes up for me as I pose that question and as I talk through it myself, is some training that I went through last year. They were really, really clear on us understanding the difference between coaching someone and it getting almost therapeutic, and understanding like there needs to be a line there. this sounds more like a
Hmm.
therapy or perhaps a different professional opinion needs to come in. And a lot of times, I know for myself, my ego takes over and I want to be that. And this is probably just from my childhood.
Hmm.
And that's a whole different podcast, but I just want to be everything to everyone,
Yeah.
which can and does at times serve me, but I recognize how it's probably gotten me in trouble in the past. And especially now as a coach, if people are coming to me and they're confiding in me, uh, the best thing I can do is just be humble and super authentic with what I actually feel like I can do,
Hmm.
as opposed to trying to solve every problem under the sun, because that just isn't realistic.
Yeah, look, it's a great thought, and as coaches, we want to help everyone, and can't fault you for wanting to do that. But I think there is a clear distinction between each of the professions that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
absolutely. Absolutely. Help me understand from your perspective what makes a good, or that's not good, I don't like good, what makes a great leader? What are the characteristics? What are the attributes? What are the behaviors?
When I think about leadership, I think it's, as I said, it's something that I think every leader needs to take very seriously, and it's an honor as well. I think the biggest leadership lesson that I've learned early on is it is no longer about you.
Mm,
It's about taking your IQ and developing it into emotional intelligence and really helping people to reach their potential.
mm.
That's what I think it really comes down to, making people better around you because of your presence.
And how do you know when you're achieving that?
Well, there's specific measurements around that as well. I think, if you're a good leader, you're always open to feedback. You have a growth mindset, and you're always asking those questions. I know that's something that anyone that I work with would hopefully share the same feedback as well. I'm constantly always asking for feedback. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
important. You want to embed a culture of feedback as well to ensure that
Mm-hmm.
you're always on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to have specific measurements in line to measure those success. We talk about the SMART goal principle, of course: specific, measurable, achievable,
Mm-hmm.
realistic, time bound as well. Asking your people on your team, what's your goals? Like, whenever I step into a new role,
Mm-hmm.
which I did recently, just before the pandemic, it was important for me to get to know every single person on the team. Didn't matter if you're a leader or not, and understand what motivates them and listen to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I think that is like, I think in 2023, if you're not doing that as a leader, you are severely missing out on the opportunity to become an impactful leader. And it's all about, I've heard this a couple times and just in the past few weeks, and my mentor actually just shared with me an actual picture of it, where that the traditional org chart is flipped upside down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is about the CEO and likely the COO, depending on the organization, really
Mm-hmm.
just supporting everyone else. And it's about, it is about people, and that can be so challenging because people are so dynamic.
Yes.
And I can share this in confidence because I won't share any names, but I literally, as before you and I got on this podcast, I just got off the phone with one of my clients who is a high C-suite executive, and um, he said, I feel like I'm babysitting. And I said, well, let's be careful again with the words that we use. Let's have respect for the people that we're actually working with, but understand that this is what you are now paid to do. He's new into the role as in the
Mm-hmm.
COO role, and as much as he's being held to certain KPIs and taking the business certain directions, it really is about how do I leverage people that I have and help them
Mm-hmm.
get the most out of themselves. And that's how I actually look at him and my other clients that I have. Is I I consider myself to have a higher EQ, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to like get to the core of you and then
Mm-hmm.
pull out that potential. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this this idea of crabbing. I just started using this in some of my sessions with my clients, and I borrowed it from Viktor Frankl. Do you know Man's Search for
No,
Meaning, the book?
I've heard of the book, but I haven't heard of crabbing, so I'm
Okay, so
intrigued.
yes, yeah. So Viktor Frankl, after the book was written, went on not after the book was written, after the book had kind of achieved its,
Hmm.
allure that it has over so many years. He went on a tour. This is back in the '60s, I believe, and he was giving this speech, and he was teaching these students about this idea of crabbing. So crabbing, as he was teaching it, was pertaining to him looking at his education as a new pilot. So he was going to flight school and being trained to be a
Hmm.
pilot, and his teacher was telling him that he had to learn to crab, which meant if I wanted to fly from Halifax to London, I
Hmm.
can't actually fly in a straight line. I have to actually take the wind into consideration. So I have to actually aim above London, and then the plane will slowly crab down to its natural destination. And what he was talking about in working with individuals, he said, you must crab individuals, which means as a coach or as a leader, we must actually look to pull more out of them than they ever have thought possible within themselves. And then and only then will they reach their actual full potential, which is that
Hmm.
London destination. Whereas if we try to meet them at London, we'll probably undershoot them. Or if we try to go under, obviously we're not going to get that, achieve that result. So it's about always pushing just a little bit beyond of what we actually believe is possible, and then and only then will we actually land at the result that we're looking to achieve. What are your thoughts on crabbing as far as a coaching perspective?
I like that because by the ICF's
Mhm.
description of coaching, it's exactly that,
Yeah,
helping people to maximize their potential.
yeah, yeah, and we can't do that if we just stay with where we're at right now. And then something you mentioned about smart goals. There's also, have you heard the smarter goals now is making its way around? So SMARTER, so smarter. And I forget what the second R is, but the one, how did he change it? Oh, he changed the realistic to risky, because he said nothing ever comes from realistic goals. And there's a prominent athlete who said he wants nothing to do with reality. All I want to do is unrealistic goals, because I know when I think of unrealistic goals, I'm going to
Mhm.
achieve things that are beyond what everyone thought was at one time realistic. So when you're working with your clients, if they sit down with you, what's that internal battle like when you feel like their goal is unrealistic, or perhaps they feel like your goal for them is unrealistic? How do you dance with that?
Yeah, great question. I think it's always with coaching, as you know, is reflecting back what you hear and see at the end of the day, right? And it's on us to, get every ounce of opportunity and supporting them to really understand what is realistic and what is not. And I think a lot of times, we're not in the art of telling people, because that's consulting. It's just really just helping them session by session to understand what they need to do to work towards that maximum goal that they're working towards. It's
Mhm.
not a out of it's not about you and I or any coach out there telling them what's possible.
Mhm.
They need to follow through with it as well. And I read this article the other day, which I thought was fascinating, that if you come up with the idea yourself, you're 4 times more likely to follow through with it than if someone else tells you that piece of advice.
I love that psychology behind that.
And that's what we do well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's about, and maybe this is going back to what we were originally talking about being great at asking questions. Perhaps that's where we get to play a bit of that psychology game, in that
Mm-hmm.
we're taking them down a path they don't even know that we're taking them there, but we're asking questions and we're probing and we're prompting to crab them, if you will, crab them
Yeah.
to that result. Do you find though that if an executive or someone comes to you and they have a goal, and again, I appreciate you saying it's not up for you or I or anyone else to say whether that is a realistic or unrealistic goal, because everything is subjective, um when it comes to that. If you feel like that person has more within them will you challenge that, or will you just tease that out through your natural progression in regards to your time with that client?
I don't think there's a perfect answer for that because it's always based on the individual and the previous conversations that you've had as well. I think it's really being mindful of what's been said previous and what is the ultimate goal as well. I think, again, coming back to being a great coach, you'll know the right questions in the right times to ask those questions to help move them along. So I don't think there's a perfect answer. I think it's really situational and understanding who the person you're working with to work towards that.
Mm-hmm. Can you help myself and the listeners? And obviously, you don't have to use names, but can you give us a success story? It's something that you are super proud of, that you've been a part of or instrumental in helping someone or a team achieve a certain result.
Yeah, thank you. The greatest piece of feedback that I've received in my coaching so far is a small business owner. She said the words, "You've changed my life." Every single morning, I wake up and think about the previous conversations that we have. And that gives me shivers right now to hear, like to kind of say that back to you as well. She was a small business owner struggling with work-life balance. And this is a common thread that comes up: work-life balance, time management, not spending enough time with their family as well, and having that time. And I really helped her put, some balances in check and also put some boundaries, because she was always in this constant flux of just always wanting to work as well. And I just, through the constant conversations we had and building that awareness through our conversations, she was able to come to the realization of what's important in her life. And she now gladly spends time on the weekends, through the week, spending time with her family as well, shuts off, in the evenings, doesn't check her emails, and has confidence that she's, spending her time wisely as well, just through the time that we spent together as well. So that was really fulfilling for me. And to hear those words that I've changed her life for the better,
that's powerful.
Was powerful.
That's so beautiful. And congratulations on being part of that and facilitating that for that person. That's so great. I actually am really challenged by this idea of balance. And I've never walked down the street and someone goes, "Oh yes, I feel balance." It just happened, guys. It just, like, no one's tweeting it out. No one's going on IG Live to say I've just achieved balance. And I challenge it only because at any point in my own personal life where I've actually achieved anything of value, the last thing I can actually attribute to that occurring was balance. If anything, my life was in shambles, but it was through that imbalance, it was through that friction, it was through those quote unquote tough times that I grew as a person or business, whatever it may be. So I actually seek, this is me personally, I don't force this on my clients or suggest anyone else to do this, but I actually seek imbalance, because I know that through imbalance is where I then grow. And then my life will, recalibrate and kind of ease out a little bit. And then for me, it's almost like balance to me sounds like comfort. And there's a great book somewhere behind me, The Comfort Crisis. And I believe it's actually true and real right now in 2023. We are far too comfortable. We are more comfortable now than we've ever been as human beings. So I actually seek it in my life. I seek that imbalance because I know through that is where I grow. And I'll push a bit on my clients that exact paradigm, because I need to see, one, especially if they're true leaders who are wanting to grow, I need to see how they show up in those moments, right? And then two, I need to actually show them, hey, look what happened. Things were a bit crazy and things were a bit hectic, but look what you did and look at the result. Whereas if it's always calm waters, I'm just not sure where and how we grow. I'm open to your opinion and rebuttal or challenge to that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I agree. Growth comes when you're uncomfortable. That's the only way growth happens. I completely agree. If you do one thing every day that makes you feel uncomfortable, you're going to grow as an individual as well. So I agree with that 100%. I have no rebuttal on that at all. I think if anyone has a growth mindset, they're comfortable being uncomfortable at the end of the day. And I think as leaders, we have to be if we want to grow.
Yeah.
And if
And
we,
sorry, finish your thought.
I was just going to say, and if we want to be a good example for our people at the end of the day, they need to see that growth from us as well.
Yeah. And I'm just a big believer of, if you don't want that, then don't be a leader. And that's okay too.
Agreed.
No judgment, no
Mhm.
slight, nothing. Then but then don't say you want it if you don't want all of it. And all of it is that process. All that is the ugliness. Like, I remember when I used to be the GM of restaurants. I loved the idea of being a GM of a restaurant. I
Mhm.
loved the idea of what came along with it. But man, it
Mhm.
was nasty at times, like unclogging toilets and then unclogging sinks and then staying there till 3 a.m. and going back at 10 a.m. Like, it wasn't sexy, but
Mhm.
I understood that to enjoy the sexiness of it, I also had to enjoy the darkness of it as well. And when I hear you share that story of that um, small business owner achieving balance, I actually think that it is great. And here's what we have to be really clear of as well. Brad's paradigm is different than Kris's and different than this client of
Mhm.
yours as well. They may look at balance being completely different. It's very subjective. But whenever whenever a client comes to me, and if their very first thing they say to me is, can you help me become more balanced? I would say, yes, but are you open to getting severely imbalanced first? Because I believe that is the only path forward. Um, and I actually wanted just to highlight one of the things that you do, at least you share on your social media a bit, is your health and wellness. Like, you show images of you in the gym, and that's a
Mhm.
great example of getting uncomfortable. It's not like, people don't line up to go to the gym, but yeah, I'm assuming you understand what it does for your mind and your body. So do you find at any point in your coaching that you are suggesting that clients take on a certain health protocol or any other mindset stuff? Like, does it go outside of that a bit as well?
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think it always again comes back to the client
Yep.
and what their goals are ultimately. But I think, as you know, and what you hit on as well, is I think movement is medicine at the end of the
Mm,
day. Like, for me personally, I'm up early every morning. I know you get up early as well. I get up every morning at 5:30. I meditate, I journal, and then I go to the gym. And my goal is every morning is that I close my exercise ring before I even start my day.
mm,
And that way I feel focused and I'm ready for my day from that point. And a lot of that does come up with clients as well. We talk, different ways of how they can find, I hate to say it, but balance,
yeah,
or
yeah.
how do they feel mindful, what's within their control to increase their energy levels as well. So I
Mhm,
think it's, if you want to have a good mind, you do need to be mentally fit as well. I think they coexist for sure.
mhm. What's your favorite method for meditation? Are you doing guided meditation? Are you sitting in silence? Are you visioning? What are you doing?
Shout out to Jay Shetty. I do the Daily J on the Calm app every morning.
Okay.
So I just typically it's 7 to 10 minutes. So I just listen to Jay every morning to start my day.
Okay, great. And then as far as your like physical routine, what are you doing in the gym? Like, give us a peek under the tent.
Yeah.
What's Kris doing when he's not on IG? What are you? I'm more of a weights guy, you more of a yoga guy. What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Look, I grew up playing basketball and I was, played at a high level, was really, really fit. I'm so disciplined and focused on the game. Like, I didn't really drink till I was 2021 because I was just so focused
Right.
on being the best basketball player. I'd run in the morning, swim, lift weights, shoot hoops. So that's really been installed in me for a long period of time. So my workouts really consist of cardio, like running or shooting hoops or just lifting weights, a combination. Sometimes you'll see on IG, I'm shooting around in the morning. I'm lucky in my building, I have a full-size basketball court,
Wow.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
And when I was first looking at the place, I told the realtor, I'm like, we don't need to see the condo. We're good here. We're good here. There's a full-size basketball court. I'll be fine.
Amazing. That's amazing. Talk to me a bit about basketball. And when I mean that, I want you to shed some light uh, on who you feel have been in history or currently are some of the most impactful
Hmm.
personalities in basketball that have impacted you in what you're doing now from a coaching perspective?
Yeah, Kobe Bryant. Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant is one of my idols. I've been a huge Kobe fan since the 90s. Growing up in the 90s, I just transcended towards Kobe and his work ethic, the Mamba mentality. You've heard
Mhm.
the stories. You see more and more of them come out now, unfortunately, as Eddie passed away. Rest in peace to Kobe Bryant,
Mhm.
gone way too soon. Just an inspiration. I'm not
Mhm.
sure if many people know this, but Kobe Bryant spoke 5 languages.
Yeah, amazing.
An intelligent person on and off the court. He won an Emmy. He wrote a short story book and movie. One of the greatest players of all time, without a doubt. And I just love his Mamba mentality, which is about getting better today than the day before.
Mhm.
So I've really resonated with Kobe Bryant. Huge fan. I was actually at his memorial. I was fortunate enough to go to his memorial in 2020, just before the world shut down. An incredible experience that I was grateful to be a part of.
Wow, incredible. Yeah, I lean on a lot of his work that he shared. I've never really um looked at myself as a big basketball fan. I grew up in here in Canada, and I was a hockey head from the
Of
day I
course.
was born till now. But man, I'm just so turned on by him and what he was able to do with his mind and his body. And the very first coach that I ever invested in working with was a massive and is a massive Kobe Bryant fan. So he instilled in us so many of his
Mhm.
stories as well. And I remember one of the stories that he shared with me, and it's not really a story, it's a little Kobe fact. He asked me, how many games did Kobe have with 0 points? So I'll ask you as well. How many games did he have with 0 points?
None.
15. But no one talks
15?
about it.
Yeah, he had
15
15.
games.
I didn't
15
know
games.
that. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's one
and
stat
not
I
a lot of
didn't.
people do. And then they'll
Yeah,
go and Google it and they'll go, "Oh my God, I can't believe yet." And I'm just like, it's a great for me. It's just a great
interesting.
anecdote to consider because no one talks about it because it doesn't
Mm,
matter. Because just like the point that you made, he was committed to getting better every single day. So
mhm.
if he missed a shot and lost the game, you know what he was doing as soon as the game was done or the very next morning was training and training and training. And there's a great story about on YouTube. I encourage anyone listening to go check it out. Where it's just if you punch in Kobe blackout, there's players telling the story. I don't know if you know this one, Kris, but he just signed his $136.4 million contract, and he announced to the players on the Lakers that we're going to black out. And a bunch of the guys were like, "Great, like we're going to party, like we're going to get." But no, he said, no, meet me here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We're going to black out. And they said it was one of the most intense training days that they've ever experienced. And that continued on for the rest of the season. When most people who would sign that contract would actually go out and they would party
Yeah.
and imbibe a bit. He was just different. And I love that. And I actually use that in my life. If everyone's posting a certain way on Instagram,
Mhm,
guess what I'm doing? The exact
mhm,
opposite. If everyone's
mhm.
turning left, I'm turning right. I just know if I want different results, I got to do different things. And I think Kobe Bryant was one of the best at that. Just making people go, "What?" Do you know what I mean? Asking what a lot.
There's so many stories about Kobe Bryant. If you want to have a look at another fantastic example, the Redeem Team
Yes. Oh yeah. On
on
Netflix.
Netflix,
Fantastic. Yeah.
which
Yeah. Yeah.
is a very similar story to the one you mentioned
Yeah.
around the work ethic on US basketball. And then Kobe came in and just changed the whole culture.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's something I'd love to hear your take on as well. Um, is as leaders how understanding how important it is how we show up in what we do and how it
Mhm.
impacts the culture. So I'm assuming with what you do at Flight Center and also with the people that you work with and how you're coaching them, helping them dramatically understand how they do, what they do, when they do it, is directly tied to how everyone else operates within their business. So how often do you find yourself talking about and dealing with culture?
I think it's important to talk about it all the time. I'm proud to say that Flight Center has an incredible culture. It is no coincidence that it's focused on people. So that is deeply embedded into the company as well. This company truly takes care of its people. Here I am sitting with you today as, you know, an Australian Canadian, and I was fortunate enough to be sponsored by this company, relocated out here as well. There's just so many examples. I've traveled all over the world with this company as well. And one of the great philosophies of this company is called Brightness the Future, which is career development. You can really aspire to be whoever you want within this organization. You can work in a retail store and then work your way up to be the president of this company. I think that's hugely inspiring. And I think the culture is really about, if you take care of your people, they'll take care of your customer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. One disgruntled employee is like what, 10 disgruntled clients or customers, right? So you don't want that. I think like we said earlier, like if you're not taking the time to do that in 2023 as a business or as a leader, you're going to be fighting an uphill battle, I believe, because if not for our people, what else do we have? And I keep checking in on this. The number one reason why most people leave a job isn't pay, it's because they don't feel appreciated. And how easy is that to achieve, right?
A simple thank you, check in how people are doing goes such a long way. And that's one of the great things about leadership. And I think it's important is to always lead with kindness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Empathy all day long. Talk to me about social media. Talk to me about how you look at it as a tool to grow your brand, as a tool to get your message out. Why do you use it? How do you use it? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
Yeah, look, firstly, social media can be addictive, number one. Like I had some bad habits there as well. I'm sure a lot of the listeners as well. First thing you do in the morning is pick up your phone, check your emails, check Instagram, check TikTok and so forth as well. It is created to be addictive. And I think we all manage that as effectively as we see fit. And for me, realistically, I try and not touch my phone every morning until I'm on my way to the gym. So I try and keep it in balance, limit my screen time as much as possible as well. And I use the platforms where I market mostly on just for that reason, for my business, to get my messaging out there. And I focus on Instagram and LinkedIn as the two main platforms. I'm also on Twitter and TikTok as well. TikTok is blowing up, and it has been for the last couple of years as well. And it's important to be on those platforms as well. But my main courses are Instagram and LinkedIn as well. I think that's really where, when you think about the avatar, you really want to think about where are those watering holes? Where are they hanging out? Where's your ideal customer? And I think between Instagram and LinkedIn, that's where my ideal client is. And it's important that they hear my message. And through my messaging, I think it's important, as you're well aware, is that people become comfortable in seeing you, hearing your voice, and building that trust. And also having that credibility and authority is key as well with people that want to work with you.
Absolutely. Where are you taking this coaching business? What's the vision?
The vision is to move into coaching full time. It is fulfilling to me, and it's just so rewarding. And I truly believe it's a true calling for me. And when I look at it, that I can have a huge day at work, come back and walk into a session at 7 p.m. And by the end of it, I've helped a client achieve their goals. And I just feel pumped. I feel energized. Like I just love it. And to be able to be a difference maker and have that impact, to be able to do that on a full time is the ultimate goal, and where I'm heading within the next 18 months.
Nice. 18 months. I love it. I'm going to hold you to that. What do you need to do? And obviously keeping like the financial side to yourself, but what from a skill set, from a characteristics, from behaviors, what does Kris 18 months from now do that Kris now isn't doing?
I think it's understanding what's scalable. I think I'm investing in more coaching. I'm going to be working with a business coach to really get my mindset of where I'm at now, being a side hustle, which I love doing, to get it to where I need to be full time. And hopefully that can be internally with Flight Center, because it's a company I love dearly as well. But if not, then I'll certainly look externally to fulfill that dream of moving into coaching as well. So I think it's about investing in yourself and having people, mentors that are at that level that you want to be, and just really learning from them as well. So I just want to be surrounded by good people to help me get on the path.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the idea of surrounding yourself with good people. I chopped up an old video that I recorded probably 3 years ago now. And it was about instilling new beliefs, and more of a mindset thing than anything else. But one of the pieces that I focused on was this idea of auditing your environment. And that doesn't just mean your home. It also means who you're following online. It also means who you hang out with. And I was really, really proud of myself a few weeks ago. I found a little hack, if you will, within Instagram, that you can go into your followers and it will show you who you least interact with.
Yes. Yeah.
I just purged for days, and I went from, I think, following 3,000 people down to the high hundreds. And essentially my filter was, am I learning from you, and are you helping me? And if the answers was no to either one of those, then you were cut out, even if you were like an old buddy from high school. I'm at a point now, and it sounds to me like you are as well, at least in some sense. I've got a family and I've got responsibilities, and time is so finite. And one of the things that my coach shared with me back in the day that I share with my clients now is you have to be stingy with your time. And that's, for me, Instagram has been such a time suck. And just, I'm watching a video of like a wolf chasing another animal, and just like, what am I doing? Like, this is not helping me at all. So I love the idea of just like cleaning up everything around you. And actually reminds me of a Kobe story where he was talking at, I think he was talking at Alabama University or Alabama College, and he was telling them at the beginning of every season, it's one of the things he would do. He would just audit his life. Is it going to help me perform better this year? Yes or no? And if it isn't, down to apps on his phone, he would just like, no questions asked, slice it, gone. And I love that. And I'm looking for more and more of that in my life as well. And I want to surround myself with people that are a lot smarter than me and doing a lot bigger things than me, because it's almost like my own version of crabbing, if you will, bringing that back, like just elevating it all the time. Does that resonate with you in regards to auditing your environment? And if so, do you find yourself like actively doing that or consciously doing that?
It's so funny that you bring that up. I did the exact same thing with my Instagram feed about a month ago. I'm just at that point where Instagram is such a time suck, as you mentioned. Same thing with TikTok. And I really looked at all the people that I followed and said, if this isn't inspiring, you're not a family member or a close friend, I'm just not going to follow you anymore. Like, I want my feed to be nothing but positivity and helping me get to the place where I need to be. So I went through my following list and just cleaned it out completely as well, and just really want to focus on positivity and growth in any time that I look at social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, show me something I can use. Do you know what I mean? Like, show me something that's going to actually be of service to me, and not just, like I said, I don't know, like how to make a smoothie. It's just, I'm all good on smoothies. So let's talk about something else. I know earlier you were talking about still trying to fully understand who your ideal client is and that avatar. But from what I gather, and jump in here and interject, from what I gather, the work that you find yourself doing most is one-on-one work.
Correct.
You're dealing with individuals. Are you open to, or have you entertained the idea of like working with executive teams? So sitting down at the table with the president and the CEO and the CFO and the CMO, is that something that you would welcome as well?
100%. It's just purely where I've been to so far, that I've mostly been working with people that I've known either personally or professionally, or extensions of that network as well, because they know me and trust me and have referred me. But I'm comfortable in that as well. I have done a little bit of group coaching, and I would definitely feel comfortable as well doing workshops. Public speaking is something that I enjoy doing as well. So I'm really open to all those avenues. And as I continue to scale the business and I continue to get more and more opportunities as I build the brands, those will just organically happen as well.
I love it. I got two more questions before we wrap up. And this is what one of the things that I really insist that my clients take on as we work together is building a really high level of self-awareness. And I think when we have a high level of self-awareness, we're far better to serve ourselves, our team, our communities, our families, etc. So I'm going to test you on yours right now. And this is for everyone listening or watching. This is not scripted. I did not tell Kris I was going to ask him these questions.
You did not. Bring it on.
But I want to see where you're at. So question one is, what are you world class at?
Coaching.
Question two is, where do you need work?
I think for me, again, I'm going to give a bit of a two-pronged answer here. It's about finding that ideal client, because again, if I help everyone, I help no one. I think that's really important. So I really need to be a lot more narrowing when it comes to my messaging as well, because then I'm going to be speaking more to that ideal client as well. And where I need improvement, there's a lot that I can continue to work on as a coach as well. And I'm investing in it. You know, I've done the NLP. I'm looking to become an ICF accredited coach as well. I need to do 125 hours. I'm a few hours short of that. So I'm looking forward to having that credibility added as well. And just continue to be coached. I think that's important. We don't know everything, and we have to be open to feedback as well. So there's a lot more work to be done.
Yeah. So it's almost like answer one, coaching, answer two, coaching.
Yeah. It's all intertwined, right? And I think it's about growing as a person as well, and being open to that. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you being vulnerable and authentic with that. It's sometimes you'll ask that, especially if you do it at a table with a bunch of executives, you'll have the president go first and he'll say something like, I need to work on my scheduling. And you're sitting there as the coach going like, come on, I needed you to go a little bit deeper than that. Cause now everyone else is just going to give me the surface stuff. So yeah, I appreciate you being humble enough to recognize that. Yeah, we are students. And that's one thing that I like to start every day with, is this idea, or this belief, I should say, that I'm a white belt. And that's something that was told to me years ago. And the gentleman just said to me, he's just like, whatever you do, always be a white belt. And obviously what he meant, when he's looking at martial arts, like if you see a white belt, they're always just eyes wide, ears wide, and they're just learning from everyone. They can always learn if you're a white belt. Like never walk into a room like you're a black belt. Because it's just really, really closed, and you're not going to be able to see or hear or learn anything. So I love the fact that you're so open to education and investing in yourself, and you've made that a priority. So I want to recognize that and celebrate that in you. So if people do you're welcome. If people do want to interact or engage with you, we'll talk about where to find you, but what does that look like? Like, how does you have a full-time job with Flight Center, you're doing this on the side? Is it everyone works with you for an hour a week or two? Like, how do you actually run the business side?
The business side, again, I like to be tailored with the approach that I have as well. It really depends on the client's needs. There's not one size fits all. I have a program right now. I'm really focused on simplicity, not trying to have, 5 different offers. I just have one offer, one program for 3 months. It's called the Leadership Impact Program, which includes 10 sessions, one-on-one with myself. There's transformation material that comes with that. And you have full access to me. I'm invested. I'm your true coach. I'm here to support you to get you where you want to be. So whatever I can do to help get my clients there, I'm fully invested, and I'll work tirelessly for them to get them there.
Nice. So 3 months. If someone wants to engage longer, they just buy 2 of those, or again, they can tailor it.
Yeah, it depends. I've had a couple of people that I've worked with, and they've signed up again for additional 3 months as well, because as typically it can take 6-9 months or even longer for that transformation to happen as well, or they just enjoy the conversations and they're getting a lot out of it as well. So typically 3 months is the minimum.
Yeah,
because that's, it's going to take a long period of time to really just get to know each other, unpeel, what's
exactly.
important. And then
Yeah.
from there, kind of work on those goals that you've established.
Yeah, I found for myself, I've had to almost like get rid of the 3 months. I did
Hmm.
just offer that up to an individual, which it worked for them, but I recognize that 90 days, because we're not meeting every day and we're
Hmm.
not meeting for 4 hours every day. It's just it really can be a short time. So moving forward for me, it's all 6 and 12, 6 and 12, 6 and 12. And then really trying to push people for the 12-1 because I feel like we can have the most impact there. And it also gives me a little bit
Hmm.
more security as a coach and as someone operating a business. But yeah, I think it does take time. I think being upfront with that as well. It's like it's no different than someone coming into a gym and we're trainers and
Hmm.
they're morbidly obese and they want to lose 200 pounds. I can't sell you a 3 month contract. I'm not serving you, right? Like
No.
this is going to take time and it's going to take a lot of energy and effort. So I think we do people a disservice if we're not, um, I guess not diagnosing, but like at least not proposing the appropriate amount of time that we feel it would take, because
Hmm.
like you said, 3 months for some people it can work, but it depends on how much heavy lifting you can get done in those 90 days, because at times you're kind of just getting that momentum and you've just built that deep relationship and that rapport, and that's where you really start moving mountains as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's good for me to know that you're moving towards longer period engagements as well. That makes sense.
Yeah, again, again, not to talk too much business talk, but for me it I sat there thinking, why am I not?
Hmm.
Because any of the shorter term contracts that I was signing with my clients, there was either this shared feeling of like, oh, we definitely still have work to do, or we were just very organically rolling it over into longer periods. So it allows for me, again, from a business standpoint, just to have more security, and it allows
Hmm.
for them to know that, wow, okay, I've got Brad for the next 12 months. Like, he's on my team, he's by my side, he's got my hand. That's a significant investment that they've made in me, and then I'm going to make in them from a time standpoint. And I think that just really shows how serious
Hmm.
I am about that. And I I egoically just want to get them results. And if I have to drag them across the finish line, I'll drag them across the finish line.
No doubt
Yeah,
you
I
do.
get
No
what's
doubt you
that?
do. No
Yeah,
doubt you do.
sometimes they don't want it, but I will drag them. So I did lie. I do have one more final question for you before we
Please. Yeah.
wrap up. Putting you in a room with one of your clients, and if we had a camera in there, how do you show up? Like for me, I'm not afraid to bang on the wall and get a little emotional.
Hmm.
And I think that's just who I am. It's coming
Hmm.
through me. So I don't stop it. I don't put a governor on that. I let that come through.
Hmm.
And I think that's where I really have impact with my clients.
Hmm.
I'm getting a sense from you that you have a bit of a softer approach, a more tactical approach, probably a little bit less emotional. But yeah, help me understand what it would be like if we had a microphone and a camera in that room.
Yeah, I'm one of the skills that I have as a coach, and I think it's probably my most profound skill is listening. And I
Mm,
think listening skill is something that you develop. So I thought I was a good listener, but going through all the training that I went through, identified that I needed to take that even further. So I think really when you have a session with me, I'm listening. I'm really intentful with my words as well,
mhm,
and I'm really focused. I'm really, really focused. I use very little words throughout. And when I do, they're powerful questions. I'm really looking for voltage to get to the client to that point where they're going to have those aha moments. You
mhm,
mentioned it earlier where we lead people along a path to get them to that self-actualization where they're feeling
mhm,
exactly those questions, those answers are within them.
mhm,
So that's really what I'm focused on, is just really intently listening and then just asking those big questions to move
mhm.
them along.
That's beautiful. Yeah, and I can learn a lot from someone like you in that because um and again, I think this ties back so much to my childhood, but I so much want to be of value. And I
Hmm.
think to do that, well, I can't sit here and listen because they're not paying me to listen. They're paying me to help them. But I love you offering that paradigm, and something I'll definitely be mindful of the next time I find myself in an interaction with anybody, but especially with a client, of maybe embodying a bit of Kris March and using some of your skills to help me along my path as well. But I do want to respect your time. I'm a big believer that time is the most valuable thing that we do have. So thank you for giving yours to me and the listeners. We obviously chatted about what your offerings are, but if people do want to engage with you, how best they reach out, how best can they check out what you are up to?
Yeah, thank you, Brad. And let me just say thank you for having me. This has been a great conversation. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, the best place is either through LinkedIn. Kris March should come up there. I'm listed as a leadership coach, and also through Instagram. My handle is Kris March Coaching, all one word. You can also find me on TikTok and Twitter under the same handle as well, Kris March Coaching, one word. And if anyone has any questions or interested in working with me, I'd love to have a conversation and help anyone to achieve their goals.
Love it. Absolutely love it, man. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time. Kris, for those of you guys that don't know, because you wouldn't, because you're not me and you're not Kris, but Kris was kind enough to just slightly postpone today's podcast because I was running a bit behind. So that says so much about who you are. You could have easily said, no, man, like not at all. But I appreciate you you accommodating me. And I want to say, whenever you want to come back on the podcast, you are welcome. I would more than happy make space for you. And I do feel like, sincerely, I can learn a lot from someone like you. I really appreciate your paradigms that you've offered today with me. And I will take on a lot of what you said, and I hope to embody it in my coaching. So thank you for being open and also being humble at the same time.
My pleasure, Brad. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, you heard Kris say it. He said 18 months, and I'm all about holding people accountable. I've talked about it before on the podcast. It's great to have a vision. It's great to be competent, but the next missing piece for a lot of us in life is the accountability piece. And I think that's where a coach like Kris or myself or any other talented coaches that are out there can really do for you, is holding you accountable. And if you don't want to engage with a coach, ask a friend, ask a buddy to be that for you. And I'm sure they would love to do that. That is Kris. I am Brad. This is the Brad Bodnerchuk podcast. I appreciate you guys all tuning in. You know what to do. Until next time, be good and do good. That's it, dude. We did it. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Easy.
How was that?
That was almost like